The COVID-19 death toll across the world has crossed the grim milestone of 1 million. Families have lost loved ones, some unexpectedly, to this deadly infection. The need for grief counseling is on the rise, especially among children. After all, their way of life has been completely disrupted by this crisis. One grief center in New York is helping children cope with the loss and trauma caused by the pandemic through art therapy. Here's a detailed report.
There was no preparation for it. It just happened, and one day Daddy was there, right?
We woke up and yeah.
And then one day Daddy was sick and then he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
It was like 1 in the morning at least.
Yes.
You're not sure how you can drive.
This 6-year-old girl is coping with the sudden loss of her father to COVID-19. She, like many other children, is attending an art therapy session at a grief center in New York. Emma's Place offers grief counseling to children between the ages of 6 and 10 years. With coronavirus-related deaths now crossing the grim milestone of 1 million worldwide, a global need for grief counseling has taken center stage, especially for children. Away from schools, isolated from relatives and friends, their entire way of life has been disrupted. In fact, many coronavirus patients succumb to the disease unexpectedly, leaving their families to deal with grief and unspoken trauma. More often than not, those who lose family members to COVID-19 have to self-quarantine later. And so, final goodbyes are often impossible due to coronavirus restrictions, making the grieving process even more challenging and a very lonely one indeed. With no rituals allowed to grieve the dead due to a risk of infection, finding closure is near impossible.
The rituals are removed from you, so that all-important last, I love you, or I'm sorry, or I'm gonna miss you, is gone. There's something very powerful about putting something down concretely on paper that not only allows them to express the loss, but almost allows them to come face to face with it and begin coping with it.
Counselors believe that art therapy helps in expressing grief, enabling these children to mourn their loss. The United States has recorded more than 7.3 million coronavirus cases. The pandemic and subsequent lockdowns have put the focus on mental health and trauma. As a result, grief centers and support groups have sprung across the country. Children respond to art therapy quite well, says the co-founder of Emma's Place.
Since the pandemic, loss has taken on a much broader definition. So a lot of the children that we help here at Emma's Place, though they've lost a loved one, have lost so much more than that during this pandemic. They've lost a way of life. They've lost the ability to see their friends. They've lost the ability to go to school.
Even as these children express their emotions and grief through art, the lethal coronavirus continues to claim more lives across the world. The global coronavirus death toll has now crossed the grim milestone of 1 million. But for this mother and daughter, one death alone of a beloved husband and father has left a void in their lives. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.